If you've been on the internet long enough, you've probably seen this cat before. Most of you probably know the origin of it if you're watching this video, but even if you don't, you've probably seen it used somewhere. Scratch was developed at MIT with the first prototype being released in 2003, but the first full release was in 2007. It's a programming language that was developed to teach kids the absolute basics of how programming functions. You know, if this, then that. But that can very easily get confusing, especially if it's your first time coding. That's why they had the idea to implement coding into an already familiar topic: building blocks. This makes it extremely easy for anyone to pick up and get the hang of. But the possibilities with the amount of blocks you have to choose from doesn't stunt those who have the ability to use them to their full extent. The name comes from the concept of DJs scratching records, or remixing, which is one of the biggest elements of Scratch. The ability to open up and see the code of anybody's project and remix it to your heart's content. To go along with that name, a similarly fitting mascot was created, which became the default sprite, and the first thing you see every time you create something new in Scratch. If you were a nerdy kid, odds are you had some kind of interaction with Scratch at one point or another. Now, I myself actually have a storied history with Scratch. My first introduction was during primary school. There was an after-school technology club that you could only get in if you were hand-picked for some reason. Anyway, I was one of the lucky few that were picked, and I was introduced to Scratch there, and I was fucking addicted. Any excuse I had to use Scratch for something, I would use it. Games, entertainment, presentations, the works. And I do really respect it in that sense. It was a safe social place for kids. No losers, creeps, pedos episodes happening anytime soon. However, because the internet, my Scratch projects are still fully viewable. So I thought, fuck it, let's check some out. Starting with this one. Swag! If you take one glimpse at my profile, you can see that I was in my Sonic phase. Yes, I had a Sonic phase, unfortunately. 90% of the projects on my page feature Sonic in some way, including my name, Sonic and Knuckles, which had its own intro. Why have I been using this piece of shit when I've had this all along? It's quite a glimpse back into time, into what I was like as a person, as weird as that may sound. It shows my interests at the time, my inspirations, my humour. But there was definitely a good amount of work put into some of these, such as Prison Escape. It's basically just me trying to recreate the escapists in Scratch, but I remember working really hard on it and I actually programmed different endings. By chance, I mentioned to my mate Party that I was doing a video on Scratch, in which he had a few projects of his own that he would like to show me.
Hey, what's up, gang? Dream, it's Clay here, also known as Dream. I'm trying to clear up some accusations.
Is his name really Clay?
That's his name. Alright, so my journey on Scratch began in the year of 2014, I think.
Oh, right.
2014. The first time I learned Scratch was in year 6. It was called the Computer Gang Club or something. I don't remember. And you get like a little sticker if you were in it. This is when I went into my full MLG era. So this one came in high school, I think in year 7.
Okay, let's go.
So it's called #Swagolicious. Yeah. The description is a gripping animation that will touch your heart to then touch the soul. And it's like, get no scoop. Okay. What do you think? Fucking BMX.
Fucking BMX PNG.
It's like stretched and like 0 quality.
Just a fucking crusty BMX.
Sorry,
going on there. Don't go there. don't go on there. I look to do the hustle, but I can't put this on because it's got copyrighted music.
I'll just put like a MIDI on. This is good. This is probably my. People keep remixing it. Actually, hang on, what's this? Hang on, what is this? Oh, it's so loud. So this was my second to last game I ever made. It was called Scratch Cat's Adventure Emoji. This was my most infamous game. And it was online for about a year, and all my friends played it, and everyone was talking about how stupid it was. And it was so controversial. It actually got taken down from Scratch, and now you can no longer play it. So you play Scratch Cat, and there's 3 endings. I remember you can go talk to the Illuminati and get the Illuminati ending, or you can go to Shrek's Swamp. And now the story's becoming a little bit more clear.
I wonder why it got bad. Now, let's talk about what Scratch can actually do in the hands of somebody who is competent, aka not me. Looking at the actual programming language, you would assume that there's got to be some hard limitations. You're literally playing with fucking Lego bricks. And that is true. Creating something complex would be a monumental task. That doesn't stop some masochists from doing it. Well, what if I want to play Getting Over It, but, you know, I don't have €7. Who the fuck do you think I am? So, play the Scratch version. It's basically a demake of the original game, but it takes pride in the fact that it's made in Scratch. The environment you're traversing is made of coding blocks, the sound effects are from the presets, even the snarky narrator from the original game is here, but it's reimagined. Instead of speaking in general terms of starting over, it's about Scratch. Talks about the effort of starting over after forgetting to log in or just forgetting to save, something I unfortunately knew all too well when I was a child.
If you've made real progress coding a game over the course of the week, only to come back the next day to discover you weren't even logged in, nothing has been saving. Starting over is harder than starting up.
But Getting Over It isn't the most technically complex game out there. Sure, it's definitely impressive for Scratch, but can we go a bit further than that? Okay, then how about a recreation of Super Smash Bros. On Scratch? Yes, it's quite basic, but it's actually got one feature that even Smash Bros. Couldn't get right. It's got working online play. Yes, so I discovered whilst writing the script that there was a major update to the programming language while I was not using Scratch for like 10 years. They added support for connections to real-life hardware like microbits and new firmware changes such as cloud storage, which doesn't sound that interesting, but since the cloud data is shared to all the players playing on a project, this can allow for actual simultaneous online play. I really did want to present some footage to use, but unfortunately, a lot of online play is restricted to trusted Scratch accounts, which my old one is, but I can't get into it anymore. Still, there's proof that it works, and it's incredibly impressive for a programming language made of building blocks. You want something better? Okay, greedy wanker, how about an actual functioning game of chess against AI? All the moves and rules are implemented correctly and the CPU kicks my ass. But to be fair, it's not really hard. Still not enough? Okay. How about an actual 3D working version of Minecraft?
Chicken jockey!
I am genuinely baffled as to how somebody got this to run on fucking Scratch. First of all, the language doesn't even support standard 3D rendering, so how they pulled this off is beyond me. If you can decipher this, your brain power is being wasted watching my fucking videos. The amount of detail, you can place blocks, you can break blocks, it's got an FOV slider, culling, draw distance. It's stripped back, but it's very clearly a version of Minecraft. When are we getting Jenny Mod on it? There's one thing I want to know though. There is one game that will prove the engine's worth. Can it run Doom? Okay, so I can't find a one-to-one copy of Doom. I feel like the Scratch sensors might have something to say about that. But I found a couple of prototypes, and by the looks of it, it looks like it's feasible to recreate it in the Scratch engine rather than directly port it. Very quickly, I put a lot of effort into these videos, so if you enjoy what you see, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 20k by the end of the year. Anyway, back to the video. One thing that kind of surprised me is that there's definitely a sense of tight-knit community here. There's etiquette to posting and commenting that's comparable to something like Twitter, except no racism, I hope. You've also got studios, which basically combines projects from a load of different people that fall under the same topic. Animations, games, and then you've got subcategories like racing games, Sonic games, etc. There's actually an animation community very similar to the Storytime community on YouTube. But the way they go about animating is completely different to how you would usually do it in something like Flash. Because of the medium, there can also be an element of interactability to the animations, something I haven't seen since Flash Newground animations. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen it used that much, but when they do use it, it's always a nice surprise. It reminds me of Homestar Runner, except, it's actually good. Roasted! Now, by the way I'm framing it, you think that the community is fairly self-contained. And for the most part it is. But Scratch users have made some things that, have breached containment and they've spread across the internet. You might have heard of a little thing called sprunki. Okay, I felt old doing this part of the video because I have no fucking clue what sprunki was or is, other than it's got these little characters, but apparently it's I wouldn't even call it a fucking game. It's got as much gameplay as the Club Penguin DJ minigame, but it's a music tool / horror game that originated from Scratch, where you would mix and match pre-made music loops to make music. But then it goes evil mode. And then they made 50 million other phases that I'm not researching. If the format looks familiar, that's because it was based off Incredibox. But the funny thing is, this was apparently, too dark for Scratch, so the original Scratch version got taken down, only for it to be remade as a mod for Incredibox. Very meta. But yeah, this just goes to show that Scratch definitely has influence to a lot of young people, even if the whole community may not be fond of it. But if there's one thing that always brings people together, it's making fun of people younger than you. Yes, there's another Scratch app, Scratch Junior. It's just an extremely stripped back version of Scratch for really young kids, but it's taken on a role as the community's punching bags for jokes. Though, to be fair, I don't think most of them actually mean the hate. Still, it's worth a mention that, it exists, it's there. So look, let's wrap all of this stuff up in a neat little bow. Why am I making this video? Well, first and foremost, it's fun to look back on stuff and hopefully it gave you a bit of nostalgia. But more importantly, I've realised how Scratch laid the groundwork for my presence on the internet for better. My first attempt at making video games before I picked RPG Maker. It was my first way of publishing art before I had Paint Tool Psy and fucking Tapastic. Anybody remember that? Basically, the first way of sharing my interests with an audience, which, if you look at my channel, that's basically all I do now. I think it can be funny to point and laugh at mine or other projects, but honestly, these people are getting their foot in the door to become artists, developers, storytellers, whatever they want. And in a time where it's very easy to fall into a community that's full of bad people, trust me, I know, I actually commend Scratch for their safety measures towards younger people. It's really hard to find a website nowadays where all ages can safely interact, but Scratch is one of the few that's keeping up that tradition.